Hi. I know I've done 1 hour of video today already, growing something that I showed for like a minute because it took exactly an hour to do the whole thing. And then I only showed it so shortly. But anyways, I've since grown this here, and I thought before I tune it I show you, or while I tune it I show you, or I tune it while I show you. But what this is a model that is inspired by Gerald. I hope I pronounced that halfway the way it is meant to be. It's hard to tell from the written if I don't speak the tongue. Anyways, what he did was he grew a structure with struts that are somewhat rigidly connected in the corners, growing this exterior, what I would call dozeneighteyes, 20, a dozen and 8. So it's a dozen and 8 triangles. It's 2.5 dozen fingers. It's a dozen corners, and the idea is he has strung up a membrane in the middle that is the membrane of the vector equilibrium, or 2 dozeneighteyes, this thing. In this case it has its nucleus, but in this case it's only just the exterior. Let's see if no, that's not. Anyways, I have more of them showing different things, but anyways, this is where all I've done so far was I strung up the 2.5 dozen struts with a string, growing the exterior membrane, and then I have grown the membrane for the interior structure. So what I took was another string and a dozen beads, and I basically strung them up in the way where I would get 8 triangles that are connected by these beads, so between them they have these 4-sided gaps. And I have not yet tuned it, but what I did since then was that I added a single loop of string with an adjustable knot to another bead that goes out. Haha, where's the light? The light comes from there. Yes, it goes out through the corner of the dozeneighteyes here, because there's a dozen corners there, and there's a relationship I've showed a few times I could show, but I'm not going to. All I want to do now is tune this. So I'm gonna increase and tune the tension of these loops that go out, and by doing so I hope to be able to to tense that nucleus, tense the nucleus so that it probably starts to sound, I would think, but it certainly will start to be very stiff, not rigid, no, but stiff, because it's kind of like, think of we are putting a and you're not even seeing it. Let me adjust this. Yeah, that's better with the light. Yeah. Think of let's take a balloon, tie it shut so that it's a shape, and then we put it into a spherical vacuum chamber, and then we evacuate is the word, I think. Evacuate the air from the chamber, and by that way we're stretching that balloon in the middle, because it's got some air in it, because we shut it off while being in our 1 atmosphere. And there's something I'm very curious about to see here, which is whether or not it's actually possible to adjust it such that the interior has the equidistance that comes with the vector equilibrium. So I should be able to get there, but I haven't yet thought about it too much. Yeah, but it's already coming into shape here. I'm just gonna go around and adjust these knots ever so slightly. And I can tell you, the day that I learned that there is adjustable knots was a very happy day in my life. I've learned a whole lot of very, very useful knots, even though I think I could do with perhaps 1, 2, 3, well, why limit, but I could probably do with 4 knots and do well. I'm probably doing that. I haven't counted how many I'm using usually. I'm using this is the taut line knot. Beautiful thing. There's the sheet bend that I use to connect things where I really don't want to have them lose the place, right? Because if I do a reef knot, which I often do to close a structure like this membrane has a reef knot in its end, that's one that I can adjust after I tie it, which is great. But I wouldn't use the same knot or I don't use the same knot, for instance, when I add another piece of string to the one that I'm using for the weave, because I think if I would, then there's always the chance that the thing just goes, oh, that's wild. The thing goes capsize, as it's called. A reef knot can capsize, and by then it's just like a slip knot, it just moves along. So something that is very unwise and has taken the life of many people over the history or the past and presence of the science of knots, that is marlin spike seamanship, and what the sailors knew and know. A lot of people have lost their lives to the reef knot because, and I remember specifically using it in a chance where when I learned about this, it was in a situation where it would have been very unwise to use the reef knot, because it can just capsize and then slip, which is great for tuning this membrane, but not for, having people hang on a weight or a line or something like that. For that I'm using the sheet bend, and then I'm using the triple clove hitch for the tree ships and all the weaves that I do. Of course, there's the kagome weave and figure 8, and anyways, many good knots. But I'm gonna shut up now for a second and just play this so that we get an idea of what this sounds like. There's already some sound, but I think I can tune it a bit more. little by little. That's really one of the main lessons of synergetics, is less is more. Unless we ignore that unity is plural and at minimum two, and structure is triangle and triangle is structure, and space-time is alive, it's animate, and we're members of it. We're not alien to kinship Earth, we're not alien to universe at all. The only thing that is the frame of mind that we've been taught as so-called reality, 3D reality, where things are rigid and not moving. Just watched a brilliant documentary on the planets and stuff about them. It was very good, but there's a lot of different kinds of being dead in that thing. Like all the time things are dying. It's the planets are fighting, and in the early time and of the solar system, and the whole thing is like the fight for survival, the same basic storyline of the separateness and all that. And a lot of times a star burns out, and rather than just acknowledging that it turns into another kind of life, like a black hole or a neutron star or whatever, it dies. The sun dies, and it's catastrophic. And every change is catastrophic, even though it just changes, you know. And what we have here, as I'm doing this and looking at it, is actually a very nice, very, very nice model of gravity. Because gravity seems to be working in just the way as these lines are, the radii of the system. But really gravity is something that goes around the system. It's the circumferential, it's the embrace of the whole. And yeah, we're drawing one to another, and drawing out and drawing in. In this case, the funny thing about this is that the source of the gravity for the inner system is really the outer. So it's drawn outwards. It's a bit like what happens in a star. You know, if you think about the nuclear fusion happening in its heart, because of all the interior being drawn in like that. They call it pressure, but that's really another effect of the tension around the thing. Once it ignites the vacuum, as they call it, which is full of light, you know, it's full of space-time, it's just no gas in it. But anyways, that is drawing out all the solar winds and the light and all these things in the sphere drawing out. So this is what that looks like, I think. It does begin to sound, and as of yet, none of the beats has popped in, I think. I think that's a good sign for having enough tension in it. Which one is this one, perhaps? I like this. Thank you, Gerald. It's been a lot of fun to put this together. It's a beautiful thing. Feels a bit like weaving a supernova. Where all of that mass that is drawn in as the star transforms, as it has grown all the way up to iron, being drawing these things together so that it got all the way to iron. And at that point it just draws in, and as always what goes in goes out, and then it goes flying off as a supernova, kind of like this. It's got a nice bass note to it. The high pitch is clear, but there's a low pitch to it, I think. Yeah. We'll see. There's gonna be one pop or another soon, I think. But maybe I still find some that can draw a little more. That one. I suppose I could really go by the sound, and plug these. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Almost the same. That's why it's called tuning. Boom, boom. That's a little low. So a little more tension. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. This would be a way to grow an instrument if one chose to. I mean, there's this one. Let's say it a different way. This is an instrument. Ooh, that one's low. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And if anyone chose to, they could tune this all the way so that everything is in equal balance. Everything drawing outwards and the lines inside being equal all the way around. But it doesn't have to, this is kind of the beauty of life, is that yes, there is the balance of somewhat stillness, where everything is hexagonal, so to speak, just like that. But this is not necessarily in this shape, because it can actually dance, because it's got these open four-sidednesses where it's not a triangle yet, because it's not got this, it hasn't got this around. Anyways, yeah, going from one to the other to next. But here is our beautiful, beautiful new friend. So we've grown 8 eyes out into a dozen 8 eyes here. It's really cool. And I told you that all I did was pop these beads through here. I hope I did tell you. If I didn't, then let's see what happens if I pop them out. Bloop, bloop. Boop. The thing in there just goes like a spider's web. I think we could call this probably Indra's web. Like this is the Indra's web of synergetics, where it's a spider web, but it's 4-dimensional. You know, it's space-time, tree-time. And oof, it's quite a lot of tension in there, I've got to say. This last one. Whew. Wow. Okay. But that's what you get when you ever so slightly give a little more tension to every member of the system, one after the other. Lots of tension. Ooh. This is a bit like an analog computer. Alright, that's enough for now. So here is our Indra's web, the space-time spider web of an 8-eyes membrane that is unfolding with the vector equilibrium in mind, but this one doesn't have the inside vectors of the vector equilibrium, the radii, so to speak, but it's actually tensed outwards with these radii to the dozeneighteyes membrane around the whole thing. And as I said before, and I don't have the model of it right here right now, so you've got to see if you find it in one of my other videos. You can we could look into the dance of the Tao or jitterbug and see that the growing and unfolding and folding in of this constellation of a dozen spheres in here actually embraces the entirety of space-time structures, like the basic structures. And it's all there, it's all in this wave of space-time emanating in and out, and you know, the only good system is a sound system. And that's the trouble with Babylon's system, it's unsound. It's all just dead and lifeless, when this is really, I like to call this animatter, you know, animate matter. And is it a wave or a particle? Well, how could it ever be either or if, you know, every wave's a particle and every particle's a wave? It's just whether we tune into one or the other aspect of something. I like where this is tuned into. So, that's enough. See you soon. I guess I should take it out all the way now. Or next time. See you around.